Hey everyone, and welcome to week 2. This week we're going to be learning about America before the Constitution and the Constitution. So that's a lot to take in one week. I know we sort of hit the ground running with our foundations unit, but I promise you that once you get through this unit, things are going to feel like a breeze. Now, this week, because it is our first sort of real week of class, the check-in is going to be a little bit long. Please bear with me. So, before we really get started with checking in on the week, I did just want to check in on sort of the class and briefly clarify how I think about this asynchronous class. In an in-person class, you would generally think of having two class components, right? Your sort of in-class work and your homework. Now, in an in-person class, that in-class work would be things like class lectures and class discussions. And that would be done, obviously, in the classroom at a set time. The homework would be things like, for this class, homework reading and quizzes, and that would be done at home at your own pace. Now, because this is an asynchronous class, everything is done at home at your own pace, but I still kind of think of it as having those two components. So for this class, you'll have our weekly lecture materials. And that's going to be our slides, the regular and annotated, and our lecture videos. Now, those two pieces of the lecture materials, I have some explanations on them of how you may want to use them to facilitate your learning. The other component of classwork is our class discussion. Instead of happening live in class, it's going to happen on discussion boards. But just like a live in-class discussion, your online discussion on the discussion boards should be based on your understanding of what we're learning in the class. So I'm going to give you a little activity each week, just like we might do in class. And then your discussion is going to be based on that activity and, of course, our weekly lecture and reading materials. Again, just like in class discussion. Now, our homework for this class is going to be readings and quizzes. The quizzes are based on the readings, but if I find it important enough to put on the quiz, I probably found it important enough to put on the class slides as well. It is not a guarantee that everything that's going to be on the quizzes is on the slides, but it's a promise that the vast majority of what's going to be covered on the quiz will also be covered in our lecture materials. So it's going to be up to you how you want to balance your time, right? In an in-person class, you might go to all the lectures and maybe not do all the readings. So is that something that you can do here? Maybe. That's going to be up to you and how much you want to impact your grade and how well you think you can do on those quizzes by just looking at the lecture materials. Of course, as your teacher, I would always say do all the work. You're always going to learn that much better if you do the readings and look at the lecture materials. There's a reason I assign the readings. It's not just for fun for me. I do think they'll help you learn material, but pragmatically, think about it kind of as you would an in-person class and choose how to pace yourself accordingly. Now, to get started for this week, there's obviously these two components, the sort of in-class and at-home components. So we have our discussion board this week. We'll have our weekly materials, readings, and weekly lecture materials, and you'll have discussions. The discussion is going to be based off an activity, and that activity for this week is actually going to be to look at the required lecture videos from week 1. So I know week 1 is hard. You're sort of getting in the swing of being back to school and getting to your classes, so you may not have had a chance to look at the required videos. If you didn't, now's your chance. And if you did, that's great. You're ahead. So that activity, once that's done, there are 3 discussion questions based off the activity. You only have to answer one of them. It's up to you which one you want to answer. So you'll answer that question, and it's going to ask you to apply the concepts from the video that you've watched for the activity or you watched last week already. It's going to ask you to apply those concepts to your day-to-day life. But don't forget, you should still be tying your answer to class material. So, and the class material for this week. So this week we're going to be talking about a lot of collective action problems as they relate to the pre-Revolutionary War era, the Revolutionary War, and the drafting of the Constitution. So maybe you want to tie those in with your discussion of how you experience collective action problems. Now, once you've done that, that should be posted no later than Thursday, and you should respond to at least 2 classmates no later than Sunday. You also have your quiz due no later than Sunday. The quiz, you have now some slightly different rules than you had on the syllabus quiz. You can only take it once, and you have 60 minutes to take it. If there are issues and you accidentally hit submit early or something, let me know. We can reset it. But otherwise, you should only be taking it once. As for the time limit, it should not take you 60 minutes. It should take you nowhere near 60 minutes, assuming you were looking at materials before you open the quiz. If you've looked at the weekly readings and lecture materials before you've opened the quiz should take you very little time. Most students tell me it takes them between 5 and 10 minutes to take the quiz, assuming they've already looked at the materials. So you are welcome to refer back to the materials. It is open book, but you shouldn't be looking at the materials just to complete the quiz. That's going to take you some time, and also you're not going to really learn everything you need to know. I can't ask you every question you need to know on, about every concept you need to know on one quiz. So just keep that in mind. You should be looking at materials before you start the quiz, but assuming you do that, it will not take you anywhere near an hour. If it is taking you close to an hour to finish the quiz and you are looking at materials beforehand, let me know. Reach out to me so we can discuss that, because I don't want this class taking over your life. That's not my intention here. So keep that in mind. The quizzes, you can't retake them now, after that first syllabus quiz, and there's a time limit. If there are technical issues with that time limit or, accidentally pre-submitting, just shoot me an email. So, by the way, the quiz, once you open it, the timer starts. It's not going to stop. So if you end up having to walk away, again, just shoot me an email. Let me know what's going on. That's it. If you want to reach out to me, there are multiple ways to do that, including office hours, which you can book on Calendly. Looking ahead, I'm going to tabulate the results from the anonymous survey you took last week, and I'll post some information about them and an extra credit assignment based on them next week. Have a great week too, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on collective action problems.